I can't believe we're making a video on this because I'm already tired of the subject and I think it's being done to death. But we're going to talk about where it's appropriate to take your baby. And straight up, I don't own kids. And I don't have kids. I have a niece and a nephew and I love them to death, but I don't own kids. And people are all having these discussions about where is it appropriate to take your baby. And I get it. You've been through childbirth, you've done this whole thing. And now everybody's like, you can't bring your kids here, you can't bring your kids here. But then also in the discussions, people are bringing in dogs into it. And I do own a dog. And Teddy is not just any dog. He is my service dog, or my assistance dog, as they call them in other countries. Now, I'm not going to get into it in this video about why I have a service dog. I have a whole bunch of other videos that you can watch. There's one entitled Why I Have a Service Dog, and you can watch that one. But basically, I do know about whether dogs can go into all places like people are claiming. And yes, Teddy, as a service dog, is legally allowed to go 99% of places that I am. He can't go into sterile environments, like in a kitchen, in a commercial kitchen, or in an operating room. But if I was to go to hospital, he could come to hospital with me. And he does go to restaurants with me. He is the bestest boy, and he is allowed to sit inside in restaurants. Now, we've been to places where they don't understand service dogs, and they are all about he can't come inside, whatever, which legally he is. But not everyone understands the laws. And how this relates back to where should you take your baby? Legally, which somehow the discussion about where you can take your kid versus all the media running with should you be allowed to breastfeed anywhere, there's a difference, right? Because yes, legally you're allowed to breastfeed wherever you are with your baby. But that doesn't mean you have a right to take your baby wherever the fuck you want to take it. And here's the thing, even if you are legally allowed to take your baby anywhere you want, it doesn't mean that you should. You're not going to take your baby to a nightclub because it's 18 plus. So if you're going to a venue where people have spent a lot of money to enjoy music or a comedy show, and you think that just because you can take a baby there, first, maybe read the ticket. You fussy Teddy. You get down, it's okay. Because just like Teddy got fussy right then, and so I let him sit somewhere else, babies also get fussy. Whether they are breastfeeding or not, babies can be unpredictable, just like dogs can be unpredictable. Now, Teddy flies with me everywhere I go, and in 3 weeks, he's gonna fly with me to Australia, in cabin. But that doesn't mean that every dog in the world is allowed to do that. Teddy has had literally hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars in training to be able to go out in public. He has to pass a public access test. He has to do so much more than just a regular dog. And so just comparing any dog, when people are like, I go to a cafe and there's dogs. Yes, maybe there's dogs outside, but if you see a dog inside, you can probably bet that that dog has had more training than most children on how to behave in public. And just because I can take Teddy anywhere with me doesn't mean that I do. So on my birthday, which was last week, we're in April, and the weather in Texas is always unpredictable. I think worldwide, the weather is unpredictable in April because in the southern hemisphere, you're pushing into autumn. In the northern hemisphere, you're pushing into spring. So it could be 10 degrees one day and 30 degrees the next, and it's hard to plan. But for my birthday, I wanted to go to the Strawberry Festival, one of the local towns here. It's always on my birthday. It's in Poteet in South Texas, and it's a strawberry festival. And it's fun as shit. And all I wanted was to go and eat funnel cake and have fresh squeezed lemonade and candy apples and do all the things, right? But I was also going to take Teddy. But here's the thing, it was hot. So we went, and I could have gone all day. They have a rodeo, they have hundreds of bands, but a few hours into it, I'm looking at Ted, and he's the bestest boy in the whole world, and he's not gonna complain, but the ground's hot. So he's walking around, and he's like, let me walk on the grass. instead of on the asphalt because it's warm. And I purposely wore Birkenstocks so I could take my feet out and touch the ground and know how hot it was and how long he can spend on the ground, because that's what a responsible dog owner does. Now, there's also plenty of grass, but it's South Texas. It is full of stickers, or bindies, as we would say in Australia. So every time he walks in the grass, he's getting covered in shit all over his feet, all over his fur. So basically, it's not a really good time for him. And we gave Teddy lots of breaks. I bought a bowl, we would fill it with water. We would give him plenty of water. We gave him all the potty breaks. But after a couple hours, we're looking at Teddy and we're like, this isn't fun for him. Like, I'm having a good time, but it's not fun for him. So let's leave. And it was an hour-and-a-half drive there, but we left because I'm a responsible person and I'm not going to put my dog, who is my everything, which should be the same as your kids, into a situation where he is not comfortable. Now, Teddy can legally go to the movie theater and probably to Broadway type shows with me. Does that mean I'm going to take him to one? Probably not. I would take him to the movies because as an actor, it's a completely different thing if you are in a film, which you've pre-filmed, it's on a quiet set, you've done the whole thing, it's just replaying. Versus if you go to a live show where people are there in real time, trying to do lines. That's not the same thing. And so no, I don't think I would take Teddy to a live performance. Would I like to take Teddy? Sure. Do I think that I would have a better time if he was with me because he's my service dog and I always feel better when he is there doing his tasks? Sure. But do I think that maybe it might be disruptive to the actors on stage and also to the other people sitting in seats around us, and I would be a complete douche canoe taking my dog where he might hear a loud noise or people have to step over him when they're trying to go to the bathroom? It's not a conducive environment for him to be in, and therefore, unless I could not find any other alternate accommodation for him, I would probably not take him with me. Now, as introverted as I am, I do fucking love a good premiere night and going and seeing all my friends at a party or the red carpet. It's fun. But if I could not take Teddy, or if I could not find a different accommodation for Teddy, I wouldn't go because I don't want him to get stepped on. I don't want it to be too loud for him. I don't want to put him in a place where he could be a bad boy, because he's not. But I don't want to force him into that situation where he could be perceived that way. Now, when I'm the actor or I'm the performer and I'm on a stage, like if I was on one of the morning TV shows or doing an interview, I would absolutely take Teddy with me. But that's because it's on me and it's up to me and it's my dog who could be disruptive and I'm the one who's left to control him. But if I'm a guest in an audience where it's somebody else performing, then no, I'm not going to do that to them. I would not bring a screaming baby, and I would not bring a dog that could potentially bark and disturb someone while they're doing their job. And I know people are going to be really upset that I compared a human child with a dog, but again, I don't own a child, but I do own a service dog who has full access rights to everywhere that supposedly babies have rights to. And technically, you can take them places, but that doesn't mean that you should. But in 3 weeks, Teddy and I will be on an airplane flying to Australia in cabin, which people are going to lose their minds. Nobody in America will lose their mind because they are so used to dogs in cabin here. I guarantee you every flight in the US has at least one dog on it, whether it's a service dog or a pet. You can tell the difference because a service dog will be out in the open, and pets you have to pay for. They're in a bag that goes under the seat. They're not just roaming around willy-nilly. Because let's face it, at least once a month, we see a video of some child on an airplane acting a fool, running around, screaming, flashing lights, whatever. There's always videos of someone who's letting their kid be an asshole on an airplane. But you know what you don't see? You don't see videos of people's dogs on airplanes losing their mind. Every time I've sat in a seat with Teddy, people smile. They're happy. Everyone's so excited that they're sitting next to a dog. Even people who aren't dog people are always like, I'm not really a dog person, but your dog's really cool. So, maybe we can go by that. But feel free to argue amongst yourselves in the discussion below. I'm sure everyone's going to have a very strong opinion on this. It's fine. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion. This is just mine. So go out, enjoy your week, be responsible humans. I really miss the days where everybody was kind to each other and people thought about other people. Like back in the day when I was a kid, we didn't go out. Like your parents just, either they didn't take you out if you weren't well behaved, because there was that whole children should be seen and not heard. And if you weren't a well behaved kid, you weren't going out in public because people were embarrassed to have kids that were brats. And people don't seem to be embarrassed anymore. They think that if you discipline a child, you're stifling their creativity. But also back in the day, people had friend groups or they had families. Like if you had a baby and you really wanted to go out, well, either the dad could step up and actually parent his child and take care of it for a day. I fucking hate it when men say that they're babysitting their kids, because you're not babysitting when it's your own child. You're parenting. And number two, people had friends. So like people would take it in turns to watch all the kids while other people went out and had a nice meal or went out to, do all the adult things. Like if you wanted to go out with your spouse and have a great night out, Sally down the street had your back. She took your kids for you. And people seem to have lost this sense of community. And we really need to bring the sense of community back. Because back in the day, people cared about what other people thought, and so they weren't assholes in public because they didn't want to be that person. But also, people took care of each other so that people didn't have to be the asshole in public. Anyway, that is my rant for the week. I hope you all have a great weekend. Feel free to bitch and moan in the comments below, but we will see you soon.